Hey folks, my name is Joel and I'm going to be talking to you about 10 things that I don't tell you about careers in game dev, right? The first thing I wonder is why are they even letting me speak, right? Uh, I've been a founder, I've tried 2 game startups, both failed. The last one raised money and then failed. I helped build community in Bangalore and in India, so I was part of the early wave where we were trying to figure out how do we get game developers to come together, talk, and share their experiences. And very interestingly, at that time, people were really afraid to talk about what they've learned. And it has come to such a place right now where you see this such a big conference with so many talks. And it's very different from where it was back then. Really proud to see where it is right now. I've also been a product manager, and my claim to fame is 2 or 3 things. One is that I was the product manager on the number 4 top grossing mobile game from India. It was a game called Ultimate Rummy. I was also part of the product management team that built an edtech app for India being used in government schools and colleges. We reached 50 million users across India. And right now I'm doing gamification at Amazon. So my one-line thing is to say that I'm figuring out how to help our moms and maids to be comfortable in shopping online. I've worked across startups, MNCs, not-for-profits. I've done art, coding, product management, community development, all of that. And that's where they're like, hey, maybe this guy knows something, let's just get him to speak. So why am I speaking about this topic? I'd like for you to raise your hand if you feel that this statement is true for you. Right? You had to push your family so that you could pursue a game dev career. How many of you had to do this? All right. India hasn't yet delivered a game worthy of the global stage. How many of you believe this? A really large number. You will be in the team that puts India on the global stage. You are the chosen one to lead the team to put India on the global stage. All right. In 2 or 3 years, we just saw like 6 hands right now. We saw around like 50 hands show up saying that we'll be part of the team. We should be in a place where like 25 of us are feeling that way. Because it's needed a certain amount of megalomania and delusion to believe that you're going to be able to surmount this, right? And that's something we're going to talk about. How do you get to that level of delusion? Alright, nobody speaks about the long-term impact of some of the decisions that we've been taking. And everyone has been discovering it on its own, right? You spend 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, you're like, shit, nobody said that this happens, right? And when you find out very late, for whatever reason, you just go with it, right? And so give me some time and let me just explain some stuff to you, right? I'd also like to bring out something that we're trying out for the first time. There's a QR code where you can raise your questions. The goal here is that anytime you think of a question, just like scan that QR code, ask a question there. If you find some questions that are interesting, upvote the existing questions. So that way when it comes down to Q&A, the questions that most of you have will be answered first, right? And anyway, we are around over here, so feel free to come and ask me questions after that as well. Alright, disclaimer, these are my views, not that of my current or previous organizations. I love you, Amazon. I really want to continue working for you. Alright, so the first thing, choose a North constellation. Alright, you might have heard of a North Star. What is a North Star? It's something that kind of directs that where are you going to go, right? And I'm telling you that as you start in your career, you want to select the North constellation. Because it's going to be impossible for you to know that this is exactly what I want to do. But you want to have like, this is the area I want to be in, right? How many of you are less than 5 years experience in this room right now? Raise your hands. Oh, that's a lot of you. Please, pick a North constellation. How many of you are like about 10 years of experience? Alright, not too late, please guide the people around you. So what you want to do is that when you select this North constellation, you want to be able to be in a situation where you're thinking that this is what I'm going to be doing for 20 plus years, right? And it's okay for you to change your mind. It will happen. When you spend like 2 or 3 years in it, you're like, I'm not enjoying it this much. You should be able to like decide to do something different, right? Now, the other reason why you want to pick this North constellation is that when things get tough, let's say you're working on like a really shitty problem, you have a really bad boss, you're getting really underpaid. You want to ask yourself, why am I doing this? Why am I not just doing general IT, or why didn't I listen to my friends to become a doctor? So that North constellation is going to keep you there, right? And so what you want to be able to do is, the true test of a North constellation is that when you think of it, you're like, this is why I'm doing it. I'm willing to go through shit because this is important to me, right? And if you arrive at what is like a very steady North Star, I can tell you that you're one of the privileged few. There's very few people who know what they want to do with their lives. Alright? Point number 2, you need to know your worth. Alright? This is a common flaw. We think we're getting paid a monthly salary. You're actually getting paid per hour. Alright? Now what that means, I'm just going to take some examples. I don't know how many of you know this, but we did like a GameDev salary survey around 3-4 years ago. And you'll find that most of us are getting paid like somewhere between 5 to 10 lakhs a year, right? So all those astronomical salaries you're getting heard of, good for media, on average we're actually getting paid around this, right? So now assume that you're getting like around 5.5 lakhs a year, roughly that translates to 250 rupees per hour, right? And so essentially what this means is that every hour that you are like playing Dota or like drinking coffee on company time, and your boss is telling you that you're not working long enough, right? That's 250 rupees that is out of your pocket, right? I want you to just understand this, that you're getting paid 250 per hour. The longer that you are just spending that in office, you're taking it away from your personal time, right? And that's the cost you want to keep in mind. You want to be able to figure out how to raise that 250 rupees per hour. The second rate you need to keep in mind is that you have a consulting rate, right? If some of you are fortunate enough, you will kind of breach that barrier of, oh, I can only work for my company. You'll be like, I want to see what else I can do, right? And so when you start consulting, right, you will notice that the rates are like dramatically higher because you're getting like global clients, right? All of a sudden you start realizing that people are willing to pay you like $25 an hour, $50 an hour, $100 an hour because you bring a very specific skill set, right? Now, ideally, your consulting rate should also translate to your salary because essentially someone's willing to pay you $100 per hour. If you're getting like $3 per hour, you're going to be like, why am I here? Right? You'll end up like finding a different place. So ideally, they'll kind of be a little bit in tandem. But what you also want to keep in mind is your consulting rate is essentially that sharp amount that people are giving you because you're giving like very focused effort in a very focused amount of time. So that means, let's say for example here, your salary was $3 per hour and your consulting rate was $15 per hour. Very, very heuristically, it means that 80% of your time in the company that you're spending is not being spent as effectively as it could, right? And it's okay, this happens. Obviously, it's not like all the time that you're working on like very high brain draining exercises. When you're consulting, you're doing that, right? Very focused bursts of time, very sharp skill sets that you're bringing, right? The third thing is what we call the freedom price per hour, all right? Now, as you save money, that money is earning interest, is kind of growing of its own, right? So let's assume, for example, that you somehow manage to save 60 lakhs. I'm just taking that as an example, right? Typically, you assume that your money grows at like 8% per year. If you're just leaving it, don't touch it, all right? Now, the rough trope says that you can afford to spend 4% of the money that you've saved, and the rest of the money will continue growing. So it kind of stays in a steady growth pattern, right? So now, if you have saved 60 lakhs in your account, 110 rupees per hour is what you can afford to spend to buy some time, right? So what this means is that if there's a cab person that you're waiting for and is waiting for the cab is taking 100 rupees, right? You would rather pay somebody else who will dedicatedly, you pay 110 rupees extra because you don't want to like worry about losing your time, right? That is the cost of you being able to buy your time back. It's your free time, all right? Now, this looks like it's really small, but keep in mind that as your savings increase, that number keeps going up. At some point, you're going to be like, I don't need to work for somebody else to be able to do what I want. I can do it by myself, right? It's going to take a while to get there, but when you do get there, you're going to be very careful about what you work on, right? You'll either work on your own projects, or even if you work with a company, it's because you really love working with that particular team or on that particular product, right? So that's the cost of freedom. And you want to be able to get that up as much as you can, because that's the only time that you'll really get what you're trying to do here. A bonus tip, some of you will be working in companies that says you work 6 days per week, or you work 12 hours a day. Yesterday we heard in one of the panels that if you're not working like 12 hours per day, India is not going to put out a really good game. That's fine. Keep in mind that that's your salary per hour. If someone's asking you to spend more time, multiply it accordingly, and that's how much you charge for your salary, right? Because that's your worth per hour. And ideally, as that keeps going up, you'll be able to like charge more, right? So there's no harm working 70 hours per week, as a lot of people say. I agree with that premise, but then that doesn't mean you have to lowball your work, right? Charge what you're worth. It's okay. We need that anyway. Be conscious of building your financial health. Again, it's kind of connected to what I said before, but I'll tell you why this is important. You remember that megalomania thing I spoke about before? That you need to be really crazy and delusional to build your own thing and bring India to the world stage? That only comes if you have confidence, right? You'll see some people who've got like fake confidence. That also lasts for a while. It does the job for a while. But if you really want strong confidence, you need to have like really strong ground, alright? Strong ground comes from three things. You need to have the skills, you need to have the money, and you need to have the confidence. These are the three things that you need, alright? And so essentially what that means is, if you're in a situation where you have enough money and you can be like, you know what, I can afford to do this because even if they fire me, so what? You start taking a little bit more risks in your job. Maybe you'll start doing more things. Maybe you'll ask some really hard questions at work. You will say, I don't want to work on this. This is not valuable enough. This is actually more valuable. Some of this kind of confidence starts coming up, right? You will also be able to get to a situation where you'll be like, I'm going to take a 3-month break, upskill on something, and then join a different company that does what I want. So all of this comes once you have a safety net, right? Especially for those of you who are still young in your career, I can tell you this, nobody told us this, take your insurance early on, alright? You wonder, why do I need insurance? Nothing's going to happen to me, alright? When I quit for the first time, I was like 8 years experience, I had saved 25 lakhs, right? Within 2 weeks of my quitting, there was a family health emergency and 3 lakhs just went out like that, right? Towards 2 years down the line, I met with an accident and there was 2 lakhs that again went there. Now you must realize that when such big amounts of money keep going out, it's hitting your confidence really badly, right? And now once you've had a health emergency, insurance companies are not going to give you insurance that easily. They're going to be like, wait, you already had this risk, right? Why am I going to underwrite you, right? It's much easier to get your insurance when you're young because then like this person is like risk-free, we can take a bet on that. But now once you got the insurance, meet with your accident. Actually, no, please don't meet with your accident, but you've got that safety net, alright? So when you're really young, it'll be like maybe 15,000 rupees per year, right? It increases as your age goes on. So now when you're like around 40, it'll be something like 50 grand, but it's still per year, right? Whereas someone who's got diabetes at 40, and a lot of us do, your premiums are like through the roof, alright? So please get your insurance earlier. Term insurance is basically life insurance. Avoid ULIPs and all of that. Just get pure term insurance. This is life insurance, right? You only need life insurance if you have someone dependent on you. If you have like family that is like not having sufficient wealth, or if you are like married or you have children. So now even if something happens to you, they need to be taken care of, right? Now why is this important? All of this plays on your confidence, right? If you're like, if something happens to me, who's going to take care of them? Get term insurance, all of that gets taken care of, right? A financial diet, I don't know how many of you already practice this, but you should be able to force yourself to save at least 20% of your income. Whatever it is, how much ever it is. We're getting paid 50 grand a month, also put 10 grand towards saving. It doesn't matter whether you're doing it in mutual funds, you're doing it in fixed deposits, it doesn't matter. Just save at least 20%, right? And as your salary keeps increasing over and over, you will end up saving more of your income. All of this counts towards the freedom money that I was speaking about, right? The way you want to look at it is, can you get to 6 months of buffer? Like 6 months so that even if anything happens, you at least have enough money to be able to go over. It gives you a great amount of confidence right there. Then you want to look at 3 years, especially all the delusion people who want to make changes to the Indian gaming stage. You need at least 3 years to be able to put out a game that's worth something. And by the way, the first 1 or 2 times you will fail. I'll tell you that right now, right? But then it's only when you have that kind of money that you give it your all. If you're worried, if you just have 1 year of savings and then you quit, you're more thinking about how am I going to survive after this and less about what is it I'm trying to do to really catapult India to the game stage, right? There's a concept called lifestyle inflation. As you get more and more money, you're like, I'll order a little bit more on Swiggy. I will end up going for like this foreign trip, right? This just happens naturally. As far as you can try and control it, but whatever you do, just try and make sure you're saving 20% plus the income. It's okay to have lifestyle inflation, but try and keep control on it. Alright, then we're talking about let's invest in yourself. The first thing you want to do is increase your chances of earning money, right? We already said that you're getting like around 5 lakhs per year, roughly on average, right? You want to get to at least 15 lakhs per year, right? Because if you try and save your money earlier than that, then you're like very small amounts of money, right? We already spoke about like 10 grand per month. So it's like around 1.2 or 1.3 lakhs that you're saving per year, right? If you increase the amount that you're earning, you're going to be in a situation where you can save a lot more, right? Now, once you've reached 15 lakhs, and that could be because you're investing in your skills, you took like an additional degree, or maybe you took some time off to like do some specific course which lets you get a better job. Once you start doing that, then you can start talking about, okay, now how do I invest for the long term? So to put a portion towards upskilling yourself early on, especially if you're not already earning something like 15 lakhs per year, and then after that, you should be able to start putting in money for your long term, right? Now, one thing you need to know, the reality of today, most of the top people we have in the Indian games industry, they flatten out at 50 lakhs per year, right? There's only 0.1% that are making upwards of 1 crore per year, right? let that sink in, because when that amount, if you think that after 20 years or 25 years you're going to be earning 50 lakhs, right? Imagine how much you're going to be able to save. All of this has an impact on your final fund, right? So accordingly to that, there are two things you need to keep in mind. One, how are you working hard and smart so that you can get to as high a number as possible? Now, as more people in the Indian gaming industry start like really upskilling, then all of a sudden our games start making more money. Our games start making more money, there is competition to be able to pay the kind of salaries that you're able to get in the West, right? And then all of a sudden these numbers start going up, right? So just keep in mind that all of this is working towards us increasing as a ecosystem, right? We can't help this. There are social badges from the institutions of repute, right? If you get like a degree from like a top college, or you worked at like a really top brand corporate, right? All of this helps because the gatekeepers are trying to give you an next job. They're like, oh, you worked here, you didn't work at this big place, I'm not going to give you a big salary. It's an unfortunate truth. There's nothing you can do about it, right? So what can you do to get social badges from institutions of repute so that you can get higher, right? Again, all of this is important. If you want to work in a team that's going to take India to the game stage, that means a person needs to hire you. They need to know that you have the skills for it, you have the confidence for it. Confidence requires some delusion, all right? If you're not deluded enough, the founder is going to be like, this person is not going to be able to get things done. Because you have difficult problems, no one will know the answer. Only someone like really confident will be like, okay, I'll figure out the answer to this, right? So that's something that's really important. You will want to take 2 or 3 weeks, 2 or 3 hours per week of your office time to focus on your upskilling, because your company is not going to invest in yourself, right? And why is it? Because the company is bothered about so many other problems. They don't have the time to set up a training program for you, right? So take that in your own hands. You can like actually control that, right? And you remember how we spoke about the North Star? The time that you are now working outside of office, and you will need to do that, right? Office work is like 8 hours per week, 8 hours per day usually. Outside of that, you'll want to put at least half an hour or 1 hour every day, just a little bit at least at a time, and start upskilling yourself for that North Star, North translation that you're going after. And the reason why you're doing this is that that's going to again add to your confidence of you're capable of doing something, and you know that you're on your journey to get there. Now I can tell you I'm 20 years experience. It has taken me a while right now to build the kind of confidence that okay, I can possibly do something that I really care about. So it's just going to take time. I'm just going to ask you to be patient, right? And that's why that brings me to this point about please practice being grateful. We're working in an industry where we're very lucky to work on the kind of thing that we care about. There's a lot of people who are just working for the sake of work, right? And so, especially when you've got such a hard journey ahead of you, once in a while you just want to turn around and just look at how far I've come, right? The moment you do that, you're like, this is pretty cool, I'm in a good place, right? And then that gives you the energy to be able to continue, right? So like we spoke, grow your skills, money and confidence. And so what this also means is that as you're doing this, you're also trying to keep attention to your mental health, your physical health, and your financial health. I'm sure there's more out there, but these are 3 really important. Mental health also talks about how you treat yourself, how you treat the people around you. Depending on how it is, you're either going to make your work environment a boosted environment or like a dull environment, right? Physical health, whether you like it or not, I'll let myself go, but yeah. If you're like taking care of yourself, it actually has a lot of impact on your energy. You spend a lot more time working, you're able to focus, you're able to pay attention, you feel good, right? And you're going to need all of that. Financial health, like I said, it just gets to delusion, right? Okay, we're already running close to time. I do want to be able to spend some time on questions, but let's at least get this one, right? Build your value for company, right? One thing very important, anybody who says your company is your family, please no. Anyone says we're treating you like family, nice that you feel that way, but they are not your family, all right? You are a shared team going after a shared goal at this point of time, right? You are very likely to shift your companies if you feel that it's not aligned with what you need to be for your North Star. When you're going from company to company, you're always asking yourself, is my time at this company I'm going to is going to help me gather the resources for my North Star? Either it's in some terms of particular technical skill, or it's in terms of money, or it's in terms of the kind of people that you're working with to be able to build that peer group, right? So from that angle, just keep that in mind, that your company is there for you to achieve a goal and for them to achieve a goal, right? Now there's basically 4 levels of the kind of work you do. The first is execution. That means, are you really good at the work you're supposed to do, right? If you're coding, can you code really well? If you're a game designer, are you able to design fun experiences, right? Then there's initiative. If you're able to do the stuff that you're being asked to do, then are you showing the initiative to say that, hey, can we do this also, can we do that also, right? And now when you're doing that, essentially your managers and your founders like, I trust that this person will be able to take on something, I can just leave him do it blindly and focus on other problems. And this initiative is highly rewarded in companies. They're like, the more initiative you take, then that means that the founder has to do less. It's a very hard job being a founder. So they know that there's somebody they can depend on. They'll be like, you take care of it, I'm looking at a different problem, right? Now, once you're able to show that you're able to execute and that you're showing initiative, then we come to a concept called leverage, which we'll get to later if we have time. But leverage is all about how do you work through other people, right? Especially as a manager, you're no longer personally responsible for doing the work. You need to get it done by other people. And so you're always thinking front in terms of how do I make sure that these 4 people that I'm working with, I've told them enough, I've taught them enough, or I've guided them enough that they're able to do 4 times what I would have personally been able to do, right? And then finally, it is the kind of results that you're able to deliver, right? So what you want to see is there's a concept called outputs and a concept called outcomes. Outputs is I'm able to deliver bug-free code within like 8 hours of working, something like that. Outcomes is that because of the work that I have done, the player is able to play a very seamless experience in multiplayer and therefore has a really fun experience, right? So therefore there's a difference between the work you do and what it finally translates to for the user, right? One thing I would say is that as you're going through this hard journey of trying to be better, you will sometimes find yourself getting impatient with the people around you. You're like, you're not doing enough to be able to match up to what I'm doing. Please be kind and respectful to the other people along your journey. They all have their own challenges because of which they might not be able to go at the same pace, or maybe they're not as motivated as you are. But just be kind and respectful, and that's enough to pull enough out of the people around you, right? And you should only be critical. This becomes easier when you're delusional and you have money because you can tell the founder, you're working like a shit game, you're wasting my time, you're wasting our team's time. And that only happens when you have the confidence to be able to speak the truth, right? And not enough of us have the opportunity to do it, so please keep that in mind, right? What you need to know is that what companies are really doing when they hire you, they're buying 2 things. They're buying skills and they're buying confidence, right? They have the money. That's what they're giving you, right? So they're trying to say, can you get this job done? And can you do it without requiring a lot of guidance, right? So that's what they're looking for. And that's how they delegate to people to grow. When you hire a tech architect, you're like, you handle how this game grows. I'm going to focus on the business, right? So that's what they're trying to buy, right? What you also want to do as a bonus step is that if you are trying to rise higher in your career, you need to invest in your replacement. If I am, let's say, a senior engineer, right, and I'm doing the work really well, if I am not investing in the next 3-4 senior engineers, no one's going to make me a tech lead. Because they're like, I need you to do the senior engineering job. There's nobody else who's doing it, right? So invest in the other people so that you can climb, all right? Okay, all right. This is something it's kind of important to me. We have very harsh contracts as the game industry. It's kind of nice. We're going to be talking about contracts later. I'm going to tell you the purpose of the contract is for the company to protect itself in case of a few bad actors, right? They'll be like, let's say if there's 20 people working in a particular company, maybe one of them is like, I'm trying to like misuse the technology you have and I want to do something with it. I'm going to like, let's say, work on my own game using your own code and whatnot. So they have like a really strong contract that says that you cannot work on games other than the ones that you're working on for the company. And if you do, those games belong to us. Now this is a shit thing that is kind of ruining the game dev ecosystem we have in this country. All these really smart people, all these people who want to do like really cool stuff, all your initiative is being pulled down because of some contract which was meant to deter a few people, right? So what I would say is that you need to be able to release your games because I'm telling you, while you're working in a company which is in the 1 to 10 or the 10 to 100 stage, you're working on a game that's already worked and you're making it slightly better. It's very different from the 0 to 1 stage. Most of you are going to be working on games that you believe are new games that other people have not done, deserves to be in the limelight. And most of these games are going to fail. So you need to get your reps in, right? You need to be able to like do a lot of this so that you start putting the games out, see that people are not enjoying this. You don't, initially you take it very personally, and then after a while you will end up letting it go and then just going through the rigmarole of like building a project, putting it out there, letting the audience tell you what they want, right? There are smart ways to be sidestepping contracts. You can make games similar to your dream game so that you're not worried that what happens if this is my dream game, maybe it's in the same genre. The other thing you can do is you can put the games out in a family member's name, because who's really going to come and look for your mother's name on the Play Store to find out that she is like making a game, right? But while you're sidestepping this, keep in mind the principle of the contract. Please be ethical about this, right? And what that means is don't use the company's tech or IP. Don't work on company time. You've taken 8 hours, they're paying you for those 8 hours, your most productive hours, spend that 8 hours for the company. The rest of the time is yours, right? And finally, don't remake their game. I see a lot of people trying to do this. It's not really healthy and you're really bringing it even further down. You have even harsher contracts. So I'm going to stop here and get to questions. There's 7, 8, 9, 10, which is shamelessly ask for what you deserve because no one is going to give you promotions otherwise. Leverage we kind of spoke about, which is how you get other people to work around you. One important thing here is that, especially because a lot of people who are less than 5 years experience in the room, as you get older and you start getting more senior, the air starts getting thinner at the top. You have only one CEO. You might have 100 engineers. All 100 of you can't be the CEO, right? You will not have 100 tech architects. You will not have 100 CXOs, CCOs, CTOs, none of that, right? So you keep getting thinner. And what you need to keep in mind is that as you're climbing higher, there's also like a rung of people coming from under you. They are younger, cheaper, faster, and they have more focus. Because as you get older, you're also, what do you say, you have other challenges you have picked up in life, other side quests or like main quests in some cases. You're trying to build a family, or you're trying to do other things. Whereas all the young people are coming in, they're still like very new, they've got like only one focus, they're like I'm just going to make this game, right? So what you need to keep in mind is that given the fact that time is working against you, given the fact that the air is getting thinner on top, what you want to ask yourself is that how are you adding more and more value to the company? And that's where you start looking at how do you get more outcomes done, not outputs. Nobody wants you at like 30 years of experience to just write hello world. They want you to write hello world which is recursive and says hello world to everybody in the world the moment they wake up at 10 a.m. in the morning. Right? So outcomes is what you're looking for. One thing I would say is that if you join a new company as a senior person, there's a certain amount of bullshit that you can smell because you've come into a company and then you're like, these things are wrong. The way you're approaching the games are wrong or whatever it is, right? Please make the changes while you still can, because the point will come that you will also get used to that smell of bullshit and it will all seem normal, right? And this is what you'll notice that you will wonder why is this company doing the same mistake over and over. It's because somebody did not feel the urge to make the change, right? It's only the senior leaders who can make the change. The juniors don't listen to you anyway, right? But if you're senior and you're not taking care of the smell of bullshit, that's on you, right? And that's going to stop us from being able to go further. All right, I think let's get to, this is the last one before we get to Q&A, if that's okay. We are all going to feel imposter syndrome. Alright, I can tell you that even right now, despite me thinking I've accomplished a lot, I still feel like I'm not good enough. Alright, and this is never going to leave you. And in a way, it's actually a good thing if it is in healthy doses. What you need to be able to do is that when you feel like you're not good enough, you need to lean into the challenge. What is it going to take you to be a little bit better? And you don't need to like accomplish all of it right away. You just have to do like little steps at a time. And all of a sudden, you'll find that while yes, you're not as much strong or effective as this really cool person that you see yourself ahead of you, please occasionally look back and look at everybody else that you're better than. Just be grateful that you have these skills that these people don't have, right? And so by doing that, hopefully you'll be able to get to this. You have a tension of I'm not good enough, but I am good, right? And so you want to be able to keep playing with that so that you always keep getting better. And take breaks when needed so that it doesn't get suffocating, right? Someone's always better and that's okay. Alright, so I guess that's it. We can get into Q&A. There's a reminder for me to not get a godlike complex and give an answer to everything even if I don't know it. Can you click on that link, please? And if there are no questions up here, then we will do the mic thing. Alright. Okay, there are some questions. We'll try and take them. Mostly companies lowball the offers and not the candidate. How do we as a candidate improve the offers by a company given the current state of the market? You get a bunch of companies to compete with each other. Simple, alright? Maybe different companies will have offers at different points of time. What that particularly means that if you're really desperate for the job, then you'll take this. But remember that they've already acted in bad faith, right? You've already told them that, look, this is my value. You managed to showcase the sense of skills. But if that company is still trying to lowball you, and you should always get a sense check. What is the market salary really like so that you're not delusional about your actual pay, right? If you're working at a company that is working on like IGDC titles and you're building the first game ever, don't compare yourself with like a Zynga senior software engineer who's working in a game that is already making like tons of money, right? The scale of comparison cannot be the same, right? So you want to be able to be very careful of for my level of skill, for my level of experience, for my domain that I'm paying attention to, what is the average rate for that? And you should be able to speak to each other. There are occasional surveys that are telling you what salaries are. So if you find it still being lowballed and you're like really desperate for the job, take it knowing that it's in bad faith, continue interviewing, right? It's a free market. No one's going to be able to hold you back, right? And if you have, like I said, that money which has got your safe space, take 2 or 3 months a break and then interview with like 5, 6 different companies. And then you can always say that, okay, once you've gotten through the interviews, you'll get a sense of, okay, this is what people are willing to pay me. It's also a great test of are you really worth it. Because if you're not getting like job offers, then maybe you're not really as valuable as you think you are. At least not in the market. You might have inherent value, but the market doesn't perceive that value. Alright? All right. Yeah, sure.
when you say be critical, the reality is that juniors may not have the privilege for the fear of getting bad rating or such. How would you approach this? You can be critical by making it palatable also. You can still say things in a nice way such that it's easy to absorb. One important thing to remember is that usually, and this is a golden rule you need to keep in mind, as an employee, what's your main job? It's to make your manager look good. Alright? You're an engineer, there is a tech lead, there is possibly like a team lead or like the CEO, right? Everyone's trying to make their manager look good, right? And so therefore, if you're taking the effort to say that, okay, here is what we can do to be a better team, that you're helping that person do their job. There's no reason for them to want to be able to push back. So there's a way to give good feedback. I know that we are game developers, we're like, fuck you don't know anything, I know everything, even though I have done nothing, at least I've got only like 1 or 2 years experience. There's a nice way to say that, see, I know I'm new to the industry, but here is what I've read, this is what I think we should do, can we try an experiment? Same message, right? I'm still new to the industry, right? But I'm saying it in a way that maybe that person will at least listen. And what is the worst case that will happen? The person will say no, but they will explain why it is not a good idea to go down this particular path, right? So there's a way to always be critical without criticizing, without being negative, right? Always constructive criticism is a good thing. How to make social drip work for you? Okay, so all of you are on social media. How many of you are like watching all those like weird reels on Instagram and all? This is like really fun things, the kind of cute puppies and kittens and whatnot, right? Alright, one person. I don't know what that, okay, but I'm sure that all of you are watching things that are very entertaining, right? Now what's happening here is the algorithm is feeding you stuff that you have shown interest on. Tweak the algorithm. Like the kind of content that you want to hear from. If, for example, you're an artist and there are some really good artists who are sharing on all these social media, follow them, right? Like their posts. And then the algorithm starts thinking, oh, they want to learn more about this, right? Now, because it's coming as a drip feed, every day you're anyway opening Instagram, you're not going to stop doing that, right? At least go through the content that you would be interested in, right? And you're calling it a drip feed because it's slowly adding value over time, right? Now, at some point, you'll reach a situation where you realize I'm seeing the same content over and over again. Watch for that, right? Because if you start noticing that I already know this content, then you need to follow someone with more skill, all right? And that's how you keep getting better. So LinkedIn is a great source. YouTube is a great source. You have enough people sharing. There's a whole creator economy thing going, so please follow them. Concept of the social trip I spoke about, but yeah, if it's still not here, please let me know. Can you scroll that? How to upskill yourself on company time on the relevant skill? 2 to 3 hours per week, all right? That means you're doing the bare minimum because they brought you in to do certain work, right? Sure, they're not investing in upskilling, but that's not because they are doing this out of like evil intent. They're just not thinking about it, right? So if you're working on a particular project, you spend 2 to 3 hours trying to figure out how do I make this even better than my manager is currently telling me, right? Anything else you want to do regarding a North Star, do it on your own time. Right? How can a student build a system? Okay, I think we can possibly stop at this last one. Wait, there's something else I think. As a student trying to improve my performance or pushing my limits, how can I overcome the imposter syndrome I frequently encounter? There is no easy answer. I'm telling you, I'm 20 years experience, I'm still going through imposter syndrome. A lot of us are going to think we're not good at our jobs. And we're looking at the games we're putting out. We all know how our games compare with the world stage, right? Are we going to let that cripple us and not do anything better, right? You just want to be better tomorrow than you were today. That's it. Just do a little bit of an improvement every day. That's all we can do. Right? And yeah, please speak to the people around you. I mean, like if you say, shit, man, I'm not able to do this design properly, I'm still not able to figure it out. Somebody else will be like, yeah, man, even I'm struggling with it. Misery loves company. When all of you like really suck, you're like, okay, how can we help each other, right? Ideally, it should be how can we help each other. If you're all shitting on the company, then that's ideally not a toxic. It's not the right place to be working at. All right, we'll stop right there. I'll be right here in case anyone has further questions. We have the list of questions, so please do come by. Thank you for your time.
That was one of the most, I think, valuable talks I've ever seen on game careers. And this will be available on YouTube also, guys. A lot to unpack here. Thank you so much. I love you, Amazon. There's a lot to unpack here. Do watch it. So much amazing. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.